gift of time, working over many months. We're creating this kind of experimental approach in which her knowledge of contemporary art practice and Rona's own personal understanding of how a professional artist makes work is being communicated to the students and the school through the shared activities that form the basis of the residency. So, having briefly looked at this first instance of the Artist Days residency programme, I'd like to take a step back and look a little bit at how the project is set up to function itself as a relationship between students, schools, artists and curators. So this is actually a picture from a previous workshop. It was a moving image workshop. That's Ruth Lawrence there. So the programs that we kind of designed that Mobile Art School designs is to insulate the artist's experience working in the school. So the artist isn't directly involved in initiating the project with the school. So there's no sense of providing a deliverable product or service from the artist's perspectives. More a trusting relationship in which they can go and open up their own practice to the school and knowing that this is the most important gesture within the residency or workshop program that they're working in. So the role that the artist is working in is more as themselves, as an artist, and not necessarily as an artist, as educator or arts teacher. So I guess we feel that we're advocating this placement of professional artists within the educational system, in which the professional artist is seen as a visiting expert. So in terms of our curatorial approach, this was a research trip that Kia and I did a few years ago. So I guess we want to emphasise that we're the directors of Mobile Art School, but we feel that the primary role that we're fulfilling is as curators and not always as administrators. So, because the role of the curator in relation to art and education is a less defined area of research and practice, and so one of the most important goals of the larger Mobile Art School project is to experiment with how the role of the curator can be best put to use in forming this conduit between schools and artists. And yes, the project to date has been, I guess, really supported by the Arts Council, just in terms, not just financially, but just in terms of kind of offering support and advice and kind of mentoring and guidance along the way. So from the outset of the project, we've been seeking to include documentation, observation and evaluation as we progress through the workshop and residency programs. So to a certain extent, the most important public phase of this to date was an event that we staged at Lismore Castle Arts, where we launched our visual identity and a publication that seeks to open the project as simply as possible to a diverse audience. So making our project public in this way relied quite heavily on our documentation. So we're currently also starting a new research phase of Mobile Art School, working with a philosopher and researcher, Dr. Ashman McDonnell. So the goal of this research is to develop a strategy for evaluating the work that we've been doing along the way. So we're seeking forms of evaluation that might be more poetic and not kind of a static analytic and framework. So just before I conclude, I just want to mention that this week is an exciting week for us, as tomorrow we're about to start a new workshop series at Whitecross National School in County Meath, featuring the artists Stephen Brands, John Beattie, Vera Plute, Gowan Dunn, Vanessa Donoso Lopez and Jane Fogarty. And the title of the series is called The Thinking Hand, and it's going to be exploring kind of all the artists' kind of very divergent approaches to drawing. Thanks very much.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, Orla, Anne is here. And I suppose if you want to start off, and then you have some slides that you want to show?
Yeah, Orla, I'm not going to be able to show the slides while you're on screen, so I'll just show them after. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope you're all having a lovely afternoon. sorry I can't be there in person, but technology is fantastic. So it's great that I can be here to give you an overview about our work and especially the Virtually There project. So I just want to talk briefly about KidZone for those of you who are not familiar with our work. We are an children's arts organisation, publishing house, and we're based in the northwestern side. I suppose our whole mission and our whole reason for being is really about supporting and nurturing children's creativity and personal individuality. I mean, it's so important for us to be able to provide opportunities for children to develop their own creative thinking skills. So we are on the go, I suppose, since 1997, and we have a range of different projects. There are three strands to our work. Our first strand is really about collaborative publishing with children. We are the only dedicated publishers of books by children. So the children are the authors and the children are the illustrators, and all of that work is done in partnership with artists and writers working with the children. The second core strand of our work is the long-term kind of nature of collaboration, and they're the residency projects that we would run. So artists would be resident in schools or early year settings over a long period of time. And then the third strand of work has got to do with, I suppose, supporting professionals who nurture and support children. So we run practice.ie, which is the online network for artists who work with children in Ireland. So that's a real database of current activity taking place in Ireland. And it's really, I suppose, we established it in 2008 as an opportunity to make visible activity that's happening in Ireland and to try and draw attention to the processes that underpin that practice. So rather than focusing on an outcome, actually look at and explore how outcomes are reached. So that's really important for us, is to make visible the artistic inquiry and the process that underpin work. So I'm here really today to talk about Virtually There, because that's really at the core of our work at KidZone. It's really about providing quality experiences for children to engage with professional artists. And it's that interchange that we're really, really interested in. And so how do you provide quality experience for children, and what does that look like? Well, we've been running Virtually There for 7 years now, and it's been funded through Arts Council of Northern Ireland. And I suppose what's unique about Virtually There is that it's connecting with artists in their studio to children in the classroom. So it's using video conferencing software to create a window. And it really is about creating opportunities for joint collaborations and explorations and inquiries. It's the structure and the framework is developed by KidZone, but it's really, we leave it really open for the artist, the teacher and the child to kind of develop their own starting points and their own way of working. There are 7 artists working on the project, and 6 of them are across Northern Ireland, and 1 is working in Tala in Dublin. And I mean, as part of the project, all of the artists and teachers come together to share and to plan. But after that, we really leave it up to the artists and teachers and children to kind of develop and define their own starting points, and kind of leave it open for the inquiry to unfold. So it's really important for us that the artists that we work with are real artists, and that they really bring their own practice and their own lines of inquiry into the conversation, so they are collaborating on something that's exciting to them, and hopefully then that creates a spark and a beginning with the teacher and the children. So the conversation is really the beginning, and it's really about kind of allowing that conversation to continue and the dialogue to unfold. And I really feel that that's the space that we provide as KidZone, is that we have the flexibility to be able to support the 7 artists in their own individual kind of processes and practices. So as part of the management, I suppose, of the virtually there, we provide an online space for the artists, the teachers and the children to reflect on their processes together. So the online journals have really kind of been really developed into something very important. For Kids Zone, it's really important for us because we can get an insight into the project from the three different perspectives. But it's been very exciting to see the three different perspectives on the one body of work. And those journals have been going for 7 years. So as a document, it's very exciting to see how the project has evolved, how the thinking has evolved, and really hear the child's voice within the work. So I'm going to pass over to Anne Donnelly, who has been working on the project for the last number of years, for her to talk from her own experience about this work.
Hello there, my name is Anne Donnelly. I'm really here. I am an artist working on the Kids Zone Virtual Residency project, and I've been working on it for 5 years now. My work would mostly be photography and video, but I use a variety of different media, and this project really allows me to experiment and develop my own work and my own practice, as well as developing really exciting work with the children and the teacher. So the image that's up here at the minute is Maratech whiteboard. So Orla's actually in the corner where I would be. What would happen would be that we open the whiteboard in the classroom, and then the children have got access to live video, live sound, interactive whiteboard, instant camera, and the chat box. So what this allows us to do is to communicate with children in a very unique way. It creates a space, basically a blank canvas. And on this blank canvas, it's really up to myself as an artist to find a common ground with the teacher and with the children that we can all be excited about. And it's really important for me that it's linked to my own practice. So the seeds of it and the strand of it has to be something that's part of my own practice that I'm passionate about. The children can use instant camera to take photographs of their work and share them with me. And by doing so, they're also sharing them on the whiteboard so everyone in the class can see their work. So the residue of the process is there. They're sharing their work with me. They're able to come up and have a one-to-one chat. I can talk to the whole group. But what's really important is that I'm in my studio where I feel safe, where I have all the things that I like to work with, all the things that inspire me, and I'm working as an artist. Rather than invading the classroom and sort of trying to undermine the teacher and disrupt everything there, I disrupt them from a distance. So what's really nice is that the teacher then, her expertise really comes into play because she understands the children, she understands the school rhythm, she understands all the different things that I wouldn't know about because I haven't met the children and haven't worked with them as long. So I'm working with her, she's my partner, and together we're creating an environment where children can be open and creative, where they can experiment, where they can be imaginative, and it's really very, very exciting. We have the journal that Orla was talking about. So the journal has 3 strands: the artist strand, the classes strand where the children can put up their work, and then the teacher strand. So each person can tell what they thought about a session, can reflect on it. I can add work at any stage. They can put up images, they can put up comments. And this becomes like a residue of the process because we don't often work towards products. The products are important, but the process is really, really key. What we discover when we're doing the work, what we wonder about, the conversations that we have are really, really important. So you can see these are instant photos from a session. You can see in the bottom corner that there's a little sort of sketch, and then the sketch turned into a little painting. So from a one-to-one chat, somebody developed a little bit of work and took it from an idea into a painting, a watercolour. You can see how children are documenting their work within the classroom using cameras. They're also just working away, they're coming up for feedback. So it's very interactive, but the virtual part of it slows things down a little bit. So even though we're working very intensely, just because of the nature of the interaction, you have to really focus, you have to be very clear, you have to think about what is it that they're not going to understand, what do I need to back this up with. Everything's planned, but it's planned in order to allow space for experimentation. So it's planned to allow tangents. Does that make sense? And the teacher and I would work quite a lot. After a session, we would say, well, what worked, what didn't, what do we go forward with from there? You listen to what the children say at the end of the session as well, and that informs where you go next. So even though you have some kind of structure or plan that develops, you'll always have room to manoeuvre away from that. So children can work with photography, they can work with different media that excite them, and at different points I will work with things that excite me, and sometimes I'll get them to suggest, what would you like to do? So at the minute we're working with photography. They're coming up and showing me the backs of their digital cameras. I can use instant program sharing to review their work online, so I'm able to look at their picture manager files in their classroom and actually share them and review work and evaluate it, which is really important because so many times children's work isn't seen again. They do the work, it goes into a drawer, nobody talks about it, and we spend maybe sometimes half a session we would spend just looking at the work and enjoying it, which I think is really, really important. And it gets them excited. It also gets them to understand what can we do differently, what can we try the next time, how would you do it again? And the conversation develops and the work evolves. So we can work with anything. This is based on a Victorian physics experiment about light and spinning discs. So again,